Good morning and welcome to GrainTV.
Good afternoon and welcome to GrainTV.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV today.
Cody, what's your favorite number out of this morning's barrage of data?
Yeah, I'd say that. Good morning and welcome to GrainTV. Today is September 1st.
Hey Cody, it's the start of the marketing year for corn and beans. We put old crop 2010 to rest as of August 31st. I think we're going to have some numbers to revise in September's crop report for the old crop year, but obviously the market is now focused on what's going on in new crop. What did we see overnight?
Well, overnight we actually saw corn down about 8, soybeans down 11, and wheat down 7. I think it was a little bit of speculative profit taking. I think that there is also some weaker global economic news coming out, with China actually having weaker exports to Europe and to the U.S.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we've had a good run up here in the last few weeks. I think the market took a little bit of a breather. The broader economic issues are still with us. The news wire that caught my attention yesterday after the markets closed was Russia pulling their trigger and saying that they're not going to be able to meet some of their export commitments because of intertransportation logistics issues. The rail capacity just can't handle the large volume. So they're actually putting a halt on grain exports for about 5 or 6 days, they're saying.
That's pretty. What does that mean for U.S. grain?
Well, I think, right now it's, 5 or 6 days isn't a big number in the picture of things. But if that turns into a couple weeks, then buyers start to get reluctant to continue to buy from Russia because they can't deliver. So that could be positive for U.S. wheat production or U.S. wheat exports. It's a wait and see. But I think the market is going to say, hey, if Russia can't deliver, we certainly can.
Yeah. Now, we did see export sales come out this morning, and I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. It looks like we saw some cancellations in old crop. Looks like some of those cancellations could have been moved into new crop. Old crop cancellations down around 320,000 metric tons. New crop we saw come in at 957,000 metric tons. That's pretty good. Old crop beans, no sales reported. New crop 593 versus an expected 475,000 metric tons. So it was a little better than expected there. And wheat was 369 versus 450,000 metric tons. So that was a little on the light side of
right. Estimates. I don't look at those weekly numbers and take too much stock in them driving the market one way or the other. But I do want to step back and look at some of the longer term export sales that we've been seeing. If we look at new crop 11-12 export sales year to date, so in other words, what we've already put on the books for corn and beans, both of those numbers are behind last year's numbers. And that's not surprising. Obviously, the market is factoring in weaker sales in the export arena. But what I'm concerned about, especially in the case of beans, is just how slow we are compared to last year in comparison to what USDA is forecasting. So USDA is telling us we're only going to see a 6% drop in export sales year to year. So from old crop to new crop, they're forecasting 6%. But our current sales for new crop beans are 24% lower. That's a huge drop. So, are we going to need to see future WASDE reports go down in exports and therefore raise ending stocks? At this point, I got to say yes. I got to think that's going to happen. On the wheat number, it's a little bit stronger. And again, we've taken a hit because of Russia coming back in the market. If Russia has logistical problems, we may see our exports pick up. But right now, my big number I'm looking at is beans being so negative right now at this early in the marketing season.
So this will put downward pressure on bean prices potentially later on.
Potentially, and we talked about this on Friday, that we looked at beans and said this is really a problem. We had just broken that $14 resistance line, and we were very positive about that technical breakout through there. You've been talking about it for weeks, and when we finally got it, we did see an acceleration up to 1450. I believe you follow the charts better than I do. So we did see that carry through, but fundamentally I still worry about what those stocks numbers may end up being as a result of weak exports.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back to watch the market open.
How does an extra 10 to 20 cents per bushel sound to you? Sounds pretty good to us as well. So how do you know where the best markets are? Your best selling opportunity changes on average 6 to 8 times throughout the course of a year. At GeoGrain, we gather and analyze data from over 4,000 grain buyers every single day. We can guide you towards the optimal market. GeoGrain, global markets, local precision. Visit our website for a free personalized market analysis.
Hey, welcome back to Grain TV. We're here at the morning open, and it looks like we're trading lower compared to yesterday, Cody, but a little bit stronger than overnight. What do you see on the board here?
Yeah, really kind of a sleepy little open here. But one of the things I was looking at here for soybeans, especially the November contract, this is that breakout point that we had over 14. It was 14.11-ish that we broke out of. We had 3 days of solid moves up. Yesterday we kind of had a sideways move, and it looks like today we might get some pullback. One thing that I would mention is it's good to be patient at these levels, especially if you're trying to re-own some beans that you may have marketed early on. Be patient. There's a good chance that you'll be able to get beans if they trickle back down to retest that as support, that area that they broke out of.
So don't try to jump on the runaway train at this point.
Yeah.
Look for a correction, maybe to try and re-enter if you need to get on the long side. That's what you would say.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Hey, Cody, we know old crop is done, but we still have some numbers to flesh out. Ethanol. What are you thinking about ethanol production for 2010 and 11?
Well, it looks like we had about 4.8 billion bushels used versus I believe it's about 5.02 that the USDA estimated. It looks like there's a good chance that we see a possible revision lower by the USDA in their expectations for corn use and ethanol.
Right. So, if you're right, then we could see an extra, 200 million bushels of carryover added to old crop supply and demand and put into new crop, obviously. That would be somewhat bearish, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think when we look at the news going forward, I think the big news is going to be just how much demand destruction is there, or how much rationing will we see at these higher price levels.
Right.
So.
Ethanol is the darling of corn. Obviously, everyone thinks it's price insensitive. It doesn't care how high the price goes, and so if we do see some cutbacks in ethanol, I think that may cause some fear in the market a little bit.
Well, one thing, Planalytics comes out with some really valuable weather information and intelligence. I know that they had a 30, 60, 90-day report. I'm just kind of curious what you saw in it.
Yeah, I always like to look at Planalytics information and see what their long-term outlook is, because they're very reliable and sort of giving us some guidance about where the weather conditions are going to be in agriculture. And this year in particular, because of the late planting, we're concerned about an early freeze. And actually, Planalytics is calling for a risk of an early freeze in September. If you look at their September temperature outlook, it calls for below normal conditions, below normal temperatures in much of the key growing areas, and especially into the upper Midwest where the crop may be sensitive. So, there is a risk of early freeze. Am I one that thinks it's going to really, take out the crop? No, I think we have broader issues about the yield that we're going to see altogether. I'm not too worried about an early freeze, but it could scare the market a little bit.
Yeah, and not even just scare the market. I mean, this is something that producers should be preparing for, especially if you're in a northern area. I mean, this is one of those things that you might want to really take into account.
Right.
So.
Hey, speaking about local areas, Cody, what are we seeing on basis in some of the key markets?
Yeah, I mean, corn basis continues to collapse. Spot basis for corn actually declined 7 cents this last week. We've just seen a collapse in basis. Obviously, going into harvest, that's to be expected.
Yep.
Soybean has also they've been coming off 8 cents, but we have seen stronger. So coming out of the harvest, you do see that spot price start to tick higher.
Right. And wheat, wheat may be in a situation. We tend to see this, especially in the soft red winter wheat market, that the Eastern Corn Belt gets concerned about corn and beans. Merchandisers turn to corn and beans, and wheat gets neglected. So we might see some really strong moves in wheat basis, especially if export business starts to hit our shores as opposed to Russia. So, wheat basis may have some upside here in the next few months.
Well, that sounds fair enough. And I believe that is just about all we have for today. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you here again for the weekly wrap-up on Friday.